What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Movement Podcast. I am once again joined by the great Lucas Amaral.
Thanks for having me, Isaac.
Hey, no problem. So it's crazy, but we're almost in December. By the time this comes out, it will be December, which means it's like prime goal setting season. I think sometimes we wait until like January 2nd to set our goals, but this year we're being proactive. So I know one thing that you do very, very well is like sit down with our members every 90 days or so to just like discuss their goals, kind of recap goals that they've set in the past with you. So I thought it would be cool to have you on to just kind of walk through that process of like, how do you actually help people set goals, whether it be our members or even just people in the London community that reach out to us that need a little bit of, assistance on like their health and fitness goals.
Right. Well, specifically with our members, the first thing that we do actually in those goal reviews is we just review wins. And I think that's helpful because I think it's important to look back and reflect on things that have gone really well in their lives. And that could be in the gym, that could be in their personal life, like in their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can kind of start to pave the path to maybe the direction they're ultimately going to go. From there, we will talk about kind of struggles, right? And every now and then someone's like, honestly, I don't have any. Like, I'm feeling good. And in which case I'll ask them, okay, well, if you look forward to the next 4 weeks or the next 8 weeks, can you see a potential struggle that's going to derail you? And so a relevant one for everyone right now is Christmas or the holidays,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just there's going to be holiday parties. There's going to be more opportunities to drink maybe alcohol or eat more food. And there's probably going to be more demands on your time. And it's going to be harder to schedule workouts in. It's going to be harder to eat the right foods. You're going to be off your routine. Kids are going to be home for 2 weeks if you have them. So it's identifying, okay, well, what are you struggling with? If you're not actually struggling with something right now, everything just happens to be really, really good. It's like, okay, that's fine. And I'm not trying to look for faults, but there's probably going to be something that could come up, because then the intention is, okay, let's identify the struggle, maybe label it, normalize it, and then we can anticipate it. And that can allow us to move through towards our goal in, I think, a more realistic manner.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So like, what would an example be of that? Like if, because I know we hear it all the time, even just before I clicked record, I was like, hey, like, what are your goals for 2025? And you're like, oh man, I haven't really put that much thought into
Don't
it
tell
yet.
people that.
So like, if you can think of any examples of sitting down with a client and them being like, oh, I don't really have anything I'm working towards. What are some maybe questions that you ask them to probe a little bit deeper?
Yeah, because with goals, and that's the next part. So if we look at wins and then review struggles or potential things that are going to derail them from what? And that's the goal. That's where the goal comes in. And so, yeah, we have people who have super concrete goals. They might be, I want to lose 20 pounds. They might be, I want to get 10 push-ups. And then sometimes people just come in and maybe their goal is simply, I want to be consistent again. I think with goals, if we can label something and it can be a SMART goal, right? If it can be really specific, if we can measure it, if we know if it's achievable, if it's relevant, if it's time bound, right? That SMART format, there's probably a really high likelihood that you're going to achieve that goal because you really know what you're working towards. So sometimes someone will come in and in the first 4 weeks with us, they're literally going to say, I'm just like, my goal right now is I want to get back into fitness. And so then probably what we're going to set for them, it's like, okay, well, between now and when we meet again 4 weeks, I want you to have attended 12 sessions, right? Your goal is to get here 3 times per week.
I love that.
That's it. Like, just show up 3 times per week. Anything else you do on top of that is a bonus. But don't worry about going for the extra walks right now. Don't worry about the nutrition. And I'm not saying those things aren't important, but we just, I think we can get lost in the multitude of things And so for someone like that, it's just going to be something super clear, one thing. And a lot of times it is really just showing up consistently and starting to establish like an identity of someone who just works out.
I want to spend a little bit of time there, because I think it's just like people hearing that, it's refreshing. Because I know, even just speaking about movement strength, we had it in a not so distant past where when someone joined, it's like, okay, we're going to talk about nutrition right away. We're going to talk about fitness right away. We're going to talk about habit stacking right away. And it was a lot. And don't get me wrong, if people can nail it all, like they crushed it,
yeah.
right? But for a lot of other people, it was too much. So what's nice about this approach that we do now is it's really like the client is the driver, right? They're in the driving seat. And it's cool that we give people permission that, like, I think most people think when I want to go on some sort of health journey, I need to do the nutrition, I need to do the fitness. And they're like, I need to be perfect. Where, like, I know Brooke talks all the time about like progress versus perfection, right? So it's the same thing. Like, you just need to show up 12 times in a 4-week period. Like, don't worry about coming 5 times a week. Maybe we work there, but like for right now, you have kids, you live a super busy lifestyle. This has never been a normal part of your routine before. So why are we going to try to go crazy and have you here 17 times a week? It's like, no. 3 times a week is all that you need. And that might even be too much right now.
Yeah. We recently, this is maybe a bit of a side quest, but we recently...
Hey man, we are the kings of side quests.
Yeah, it's true. We recently launched an unlimited membership, and we have those options when people sign up. And the only time I ever recommend unlimited to someone is if they're coming from working out consistently 4 to 5 times per week. For everyone else, I say you need to earn unlimited. Like,
I literally heard you talking someone down today. I was in the office and all I hear is like, you don't need to do the unlimited membership. They're like, I want to. Like, no. Like, let's start here.
Yeah, like you need to do 3 sessions per week for 12 weeks. And you got to go through the hurdles that life is going to throw at you. And you have to just show up consistently through that, because there's going to be, whether it's the kids or the work, like the career, or the holidays, and it's all the stuff, right? And it's just about showing up and even just giving your body time to adapt and build to the habit and kind of start to normalize it. And I want you to be hungry for more.
Just to clarify though, if someone comes in and they're dead set on getting an unlimited membership, like they want to work out more than 3 times a week, we're not going to say no, for sure. But we are definitely going to try to educate them on like, hey, if this has already been habits that you've been doing in the past, then for sure, I understand. But like, if you're brand new, there's no need.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to vary, but I mean, for those people who, are really hungry, and it's like, hey, what's really underrated? Walking. Yeah. And so on the days that you're not here, walk more, right? If you're really hungry to move, scratch the itch by moving more, bike, walk, swim, do things that are going to get you outdoors in the very limited sunshine that we have right now. Yeah, I just really want people to earn it. Bit of a side quest, but I think it's important, like that. Definitely. That, and that's going to be the case with most schools, because, I'm looking at the sheet here and we talk about like relevant or even realistic. Like, is this goal realistic? Mm-hmm. And what we don't want to do is we don't want to set up people for failure. And we find that when people bite off more than they can chew, and this is probably with any goal, by the way, not just getting to the gym more than 3 times per week, is if they're not hitting that target, then it's like, oh man, like I'm not getting the, in this case, I'm not getting the value, or like I can't show up, I feel defeated, versus no, like I'm hungry for more, I'm excited, like my body's feeling good, I'm recovering. And once that kicks in and there's that hunger and it's been 12 weeks and you're past the honeymoon phase, because everyone's really excited, right? Like, let's be honest. January 1st rolls around, a lot of times where we got all this momentum and excitement, and we have this feeling that we need to get moving, every single day, multiple times a day. And people jump and just sprint out of the gates in a way that's so unsustainable. And so that's where like maybe the relevant and realistic and even or achievable component of the SMART goal comes in, because if it's not, then there's no point. Like, who cares if you moved for 3 weeks? I want you to move for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely something that we've been talking a lot about over the past few years, but I think the biggest learn for me as a coach is, I think in the past, I always thought a good coach is someone that's there to like push you. You know what I mean? Whereas what I find a lot of the times, the best coaches are the ones that are kind of like holding you back in a sense, and not in the negative terms, but like someone like myself, I can't just do something for fun. I need to, everything is a competition.
Yep.
So I need a coach that's like, hey, Isaac, you don't need to sprint 5K every day. Like, let's talk about easy running, or let's talk about just lifting at like 50% of your max rather than 80% of your max. So I think it's important to have sort of us in your corner, to just be realistic and be like, you don't need to come 5 times or go for walks. Like, just take it easy, giving people that permission.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's not yet. Like,
That's right.
we're going to get there. Right. Like,
Yes.
And that's the holding back component. And that could be someone is doing a back squat and they really want to do a certain amount of weight, or they really want to work on maybe a 3 rep or a 5 rep max, but it's like, hey, we're just starting out. So actually let's maybe focus a little bit higher. Let's really make sure we're working hard. We're building adaptation. It's like, you got to earn the right to kind of get to those places.
Yeah.
And if you stick it out, like, consistency compounds,
Yeah.
right? And you'll be amazed at where you can get. Even when people go to unlimited, I always recommend, okay, cool. You could come 7 times per week. I wouldn't recommend it. I actually would just say, just for the next 4 weeks, come 4 times per week.
Mm-hmm.
See how that feels. Normalize it a little bit. Maybe that's the sweet spot. Maybe it's not. Maybe 5 is. And it's kind of just like stepping yourself up there, right?
Yeah. Same thing with nutrition. It's
Yeah.
like, we always hear, okay, I want to do I want to do macro counting. It's like,
Right.
whoa.
Yeah.
How about we just learn what a protein is, what a carb is, and what a fat is first?
Yeah.
Same thing with like nighttime and bedtime and morning routines. They try to get this like crazy 40-minute nighttime routine. It's like, all right, let's just talk about going to bed at the same time every single day.
That's right.
Like, we don't need to go to the extremes every time.
Running, right? I think everyone's running right now. It's a big thing. And it's like, okay, before you started running, you did no running and no walking. So there's no adaptation there. And then you start running and it's like, all of a sudden, someone jumps to 30, 40K a week, 50K a week. And it's kind of the same thing. The body doesn't have, in that case, it's specific, the body doesn't have time to really adapt. Probably like the cardiovascular system adapts much faster, but the reality is we just need lots of reps. Otherwise, probably what ends up happening, just too much too soon. And in that case, it ends up in maybe injury, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of the little tweak thing. So it's about building volume. We talk about stacking bricks in our runs and building programs like that for people. It's progressive overload, right? Same idea. Progressive overload for life.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's one thing, that's definitely one of my goals for the next few months, is working with Coach Will to relay that information in a better way to not just our members, but like to the London community. Because I think sometimes we take for granted how amazing and awesome our program is. Where I think people just need to know, like, Will puts a lot of time and effort making sure people are building, stacking those bricks for months before we do a 3RM, right? Like, that's not how we roll.
For sure.
But yeah, I just wanted to kind of touch base on when people do have that weight loss goal.
Right.
Because I know that's just one that we're going to start hearing a lot more coming closer to January. I know it's something you're really passionate about on pushing back on. Like, when someone comes in and they just say, hey, I want to lose 25 pounds. We know that that's probably not going to get them out of bed at 4:30 a.m. to get here for the 5:15 a.m. class. So for people listening, if they do have like that weight loss goal of, I want to lose, the last 15 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever, what are some things that you would maybe say to them to like dig a little bit deeper?
Yeah. And it's not that I would say like, hey, I'm going to push back on the goal, or I don't necessarily think the goal is what's going to drive you. I mean, at the end of the day, any goal can drive anybody. It's, and I think this is probably what you're getting at, which is you just need to understand why you're trying to accomplish it, right? And so if it's someone who's doing push-ups or someone who wants to lose 25 pounds, it's just trying to understand, why is that important to you? Like, if you lose 25 pounds, what's that going to mean for you? Is it going to improve your health? Is it going to improve your joints? Are they sore? Is it going to improve your confidence? Are you going to be wearing different clothes? How is it really just going to affect your life? And then maybe a better question to ask too is, it's like, as a result of you being maybe 25 pounds overweight, or not being able to do push-ups or pull-ups, or not being able to go for a run, it's like, how are you struggling? Like, what's the actual issue that you're dealing with right now? Why do you need to get away from that? So I think it's just about whatever goal someone has, We always try to find the clarity in terms of why is that goal important to the person, and what's it going to bring you? What is it going to drive you away from? Because yes, to your point, it's like if there is something really specific driving that goal, it's like what I want to do is I want to let that person know it's this why is not for me, it's for you. And so when it is 5:15 a.m. and it's in the middle of the winter and you open your door to 3 feet of snow, maybe it's unlikely in London these days, but what's going to get you to shovel the driveway and get your car to the gym, assuming the gym's open? But you get my drift. It's like, what's going to get you to push through the pain of discomfort? And I think the reality is the pain of where you're at just has to be more than the pain of discomfort. Like if you want to lose 25 pounds and there's all of these different reasons as to why, and that's really painful for you, it's like, okay, well then the pain of getting up at 5:15 a.m. is probably going to melt away. Because, we talk about discipline over motivation all the time, but the reality is you're going to be highly motivated January 1st. You're going to be highly unmotivated January 10th. And that's the case for everybody. We talk about it all the time. I'm not motivated every day to show up. I just transitioned from, the sport of triathlon and even just running over the summer. For me to get back in the gym and do 3 training sessions per week it seems like I'm trying to climb Everest. Honestly. Yeah. And this is coming from someone who owns a gym, who has in the past done up to 6 workouts, sometimes 2 a days when I was training for and CrossFit way back.
Yeah.
And more so specific CrossFit, because that had me in the gym multiple times per week. And here I am struggling to show up. And that's just the truth. And so it's like, man, every day I have to push through the mud to get here, right? Some days are more motivating than others, right? Walk in, it's sunny, listen to a good podcast or a good song, highly motivated. But man, some of the days this week, it's raining, it's windy, it's dark. I already don't want to go to the gym. It's compounding the issue, but the difference is just showing up.
So what do you do? What are some things that actually help keep you motivated? Because
well, I think it comes. Someone's asked me this question before, and my response was simple. It was, man, I wish I had some really sexy answer for this. Mm-hmm. But I, going back to earlier in this podcast where I said, it's really about developing and setting an identity. I think that's what it is. It's just about. So if I'm not feeling motivated, it's just reminding myself that right now it's not really about going and having this ultimate workout. It's about, putting one step in front of the other and really just showing up. I just need to show up consistently to rebuild the identity that who's someone who does train 3 times per week in a gym, and then, beyond that, maybe 4 or 5 times per week in a gym. If you read Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about making these micro atomic goals. And so if someone's struggling to go for their run, it's like, well, don't worry about your run. Just put on your running shoes. If you put on your running shoes, which isn't a hard task, you're probably not going to take them off. Mm-hmm. And so now you can leave the door. And if you just promise yourself, you know what, I'm not feeling great today, but I'm just going to go for a run around the block. I gave this example to someone this week in a goal review. And I was just like, hey, they were like, it's really dark out. I don't want to walk right now. I'm highly motivated to show up to the gym. I love the 6 a.m. crew. They're amazing. The coaches are amazing. Everyone brings the energy. But man, getting outside lately, and I was like, all right, well, just make sure you have the right gear, because there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad gear. So have the right gear. And we talked about the James Clear thing. She had read the book. And I was like, yeah, just put on your shoes. Just go for a walk around the block. I'm like, I don't care. Just go for a walk around the block. Sometimes I talk to people, and if they're 10Kers and they can't do a 10K, they're like, it's not worth it. But it's not about that right now. It's about just showing up for yourself and just putting in reps. So just go around the block. Probably what's going to happen is you're not just going to go around the block. Once you get going, you're like, okay, I'm feeling good. I'm going to go 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks. And even if you just went around the block, that would be fine. Mm-hmm. He talks about reading all the time. And if I'm ever struggling with reading, I'm like, I gotta get some reading again. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna read every day. And sometimes I'm gonna read a page, and sometimes I'm gonna read 10, but no matter what, I'm gonna read. Heck, I might even just read a paragraph, but at least every day I'm a reader. And I think that's the power, is it's just sometimes we just need to show up. Sometimes we just need to put on our shoes and show up. And the reality is we'll probably have a great workout. We'll probably feel a lot better at the end of the day. And when you put in reps during those moments of the time where you don't want to do it, where you stretch and stress your discipline muscle, it's just like any other muscle. It has to adapt and respond so that the next time that you deal with, I don't want to go, you're going to be more likely to go. And man, when the sun's shining, the session's going to be even better.
Mm-hmm. I also think using different strategies of working out. So, because I feel like my motivation's at an all-time low as well, especially when it comes to running right now. Like, I qualified for Boston, which was my really, really big goal. I don't have a specific running goal anymore, and nothing's driving me. So knowing that, but knowing that I still need to show up, it's like, okay, now I'm going to do more community runs. So going to Backroads, going to Run Parlor, doing our run club for London Run Club, like being a part of the community just makes it easier to show up. And then I think for you and for me right now, like hopping in a lot more strength and conditioning classes at Movement Strength. It's just like, man, if we want to talk about trying to lower that barrier of just starting to work out, it's like, okay, I'm going to show up to class. Coach Jordan, Coach Dilrup, Coach Nicole, whomever is going to just tell me exactly what I need to do. Like, I'm like, oh man, this is so nice. It's just so refreshing. And then you, me, and Will, right? Like we're starting to do our bro sessions weekly as well. Like those are things I really, really look forward to. So it's like during these times of like, I know my motivation's super low, I'm going to lean on the individuals around me to help keep me motivated. And the same thing can kind of be said about the example with the individual walking. It's like, okay, well, maybe you have an extra neighbor that you're close with and be like, hey, tomorrow at 6, let's go for a walk. And like, you probably don't want to go for your walk. Your next door neighbor probably doesn't want to go for a walk when it's -10, but you told each other you're going to, so you're probably going to. So it's like having that accountability buddy or that class that you need to know, or that you need to show up to. I think those are like little hacks that people can use during this time of year as well.
That's solid. Yeah, that's really good. It's funny with the accountability buddy with this particular individual. She has a dog, and an active dog too. And the dog wants to go. So she's like, oh man, like that, I'm not getting the dog out as much. And I feel bad. I want to get the dog out more. And so I was like, oh, don't make it about the dog then. So what I said to her was, I said, listen, when you're questioning whether or not you want to go for a walk, what I want you to do is just in that immediate moment, realize that that's the case. And I want you to yell out, I'm going for a walk. As crazy as it sounds, now what you've done is you've committed yourself to your dog, because what your dog is going to be like, what? And now that dog's coming to you, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
And so it goes along the same lines, which is just like have an accountability buddy, have something else that's going to pull you, because you're right. I mean, for me, it's been very helpful and enjoyable actually. Like it's like being, training with you guys, training with the coaches, going into classes. We say that all the time. Like one of the first things I say in a phone call, say, hey, one of the most important things about movement strength, it's like when you come in our doors for a workout, it's like you don't have to think about anything, right? We'll take care of all of that for you from 0 to 60 minutes. You know that you'll do an efficient, effective workout. It's going to move you towards your goals. You should have to show up and like there's thinking in how am I moving my body, but you don't have to think about like, oh, what am I going to do today? Like what program am I going to follow? Hop on YouTube, check out that influencer. No. You just show up and you know that someone has put in a lot of thought. You get to work out with a bunch of motivated individuals that are going to push you, and you got to have a coach that's really going to make sure that you're staying in point. So that's been super helpful.
Yeah. And fun
is important.
Yeah,
bring in the fun. Yeah,
it's fun. Sorry, quick side quest. It's funny how different we are now when we work out. Like a little bit.
Yep.
So I just posted a video of me, Will, and Luke having like a bench press competition. That's normal. That's how we usually are.
Yep.
But we'll like hop into a class, and before it's like if Luke and I are doing a class together, we will die. Like it will be like it is 100%, no matter what. Whereas now it's like, nah, I'm just gonna come in here, nice zone 2 assault bike or row. Maybe that's just me. You're still pushing hard, but I'm like,
dude,
these old joints can't handle it.
No, I get it. Well, yesterday's session was a good example of just kind of showing up, and the strength work that we did, a little competition, was actually really challenging.
Yeah.
Pushing to the limit, like how many reps can we actually get here on this bench press? But the conditioning was like, going into both of those segments, like, hey, let's just kind of go through. And it's really, really fun session. One of the most fun sessions I've had in a really long time. But I know I still have the competitiveness and the edge. And this is how. I'm upstairs. I'm getting dressed for the 12 o'clock. I hadn't looked who was in the class. And Jordan goes, "Hey, Connor." And I was like, "Oh, shit. This is going to be a hard session."
Yeah. That was right. Because it was like, what was it? 3 weeks ago. There was like an assault bike thing.
Yep.
And you and Connor were put together.
Dude.
And as soon as I saw Connor and Luke on the assault bike together, I'm like, Luke is going to have a real bad day.
Yeah, it was rough.
And after that, like, you were
rough.
you were having a tough time.
Yeah. And that's maybe an extreme example, so maybe don't do that. But actually there's a lot of silver lining. There's a lot of light in that, which is another one of the amazing things about, hopping into a class, not just for us, right? For everybody.
Yeah.
Right. When they're in a movement strength class, it's just, you have people like that push you. I think the problem is, for most people, they don't really work out well on their own.
Yeah.
Right. They don't really push as hard as they need to, or maybe they push too hard. And so that's where the coach comes in and kind of holds them back, and we hold them back. But yeah, I think a lot of times people are able to just push a little bit more, get more out of a session, right? And of themselves, right? It's not just about working out. It's about, hey, what's the major takeaway? How is doing, deadlifts and wall balls and sumo deadlift high pulls really going to benefit me physically, 100%? But also there's like a mental component of like just being disciplined to stick it out, to deal with a little bit of pain. That's going to carry into your life.
Yeah. Kind of circling back to, goal setting and classes though, and how it kind of relates when we talk about like willpower as well. I swear, I quote James Clear's Atomic Habits every single podcast.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It's so good.
Yeah.
But he talks a lot about like willpower being, almost like a gauge as well. And it starts at 100%, and throughout the day, it kind of just goes down and down and down.
Oh yeah.
So when we talk about classes, the thing that's nice about a class is you don't need to use as much willpower. So it's like you go into a class, you're told what to do. It's just so much easier. So it's like your willpower bar kind of stays the same, which is nice, because then you can use that to help you reach your goal in other ways. So like, we know if weight loss or building muscle or getting stronger, any of these things are a part of a goal that you have, nutrition plays a big role in that as well. So if you don't have to use as much willpower at the gym, which is another component, you can kind of utilize that willpower for nutrition. So like making sure you're getting enough protein in your diet, making sure you still have enough willpower to say no to the Reese's peanut butter cups at night. Like, it's cool that you can save some of that by doing these group style classes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
So, okay, back to goal setting stuff.
Yep.
So these individuals, they'll sit down with you, they'll set their goal. It obviously doesn't end there. Like, you give them some suggestions. I know follow-up is a big thing as well. But what does it kind of look like? Like, what can someone do to sort of stay on track with their goal from when they might meet you, or when they just set a goal on their own and, 12 weeks from now, 6 weeks from now, whatever it may be?
I think it's going to come down to just planning. And I guess what I mean by that, and I can even use the word or the term reverse engineering. And so if it was, okay, in 3 months, I want to be able to do 10 push-ups, and I'm at 5 push-ups now. It's like, okay, great. We can say that, right? Like, we could say, I want to do 10 push-ups in 3 months. So by March 1st. And that's great. I mean, that's a really specific goal. It's measurable. It's timely. And so in a lot of ways, its goals are great. Is it achievable? Yeah, could be. I mean, depends on what those 5 push-ups are looking like. We got to double those push-ups. It's like, yeah, I think we could make that happen, right? But it's just a matter of, okay, great. Now what? Do we just go back into classes? Is it that they're just actually really being intentional about more push-ups? But I think what we could do for something like that to make sure that it actually happens is, it's like, okay, well, if we kind of just go and do it in classes, like, that's great. You're probably going to improve. You can have the intention in it. Maybe you can buy some of those workouts. It's like, well, I'm definitely going to make sure that I show up to the bench press days. I'm going to make sure I find the conditioning days or the strength days that have push-ups. So it could be that. Like, if the goal is that important to them, then it could be about showing up to those things. And if they wanted extracurriculars, it could be about like, okay, well, I'm going to start doing 3 sets of 5 push-ups. I'm going to start working that and greasing that groove. And then from there, maybe the following week, I'm going to do 3 sets of 7. But it could be that if I want to do 10, that I reverse engineer it. So it's like, okay, well, if I want to do 10 by 3 months, like I should probably be able to do, 3 sets of 8 by week 10 or 3 sets of 8 by week 8. And so it's just kind of reverse engineering the goal, right? Just breaking it down backwards and figuring out, well, where do I need to be in 4 weeks? Where do I need to be in 8 weeks to make that a reality? I think writing down the goal, like declaring the goal, is probably half the battle. Like we're going to start to go to work on that. But I think where we really bring things to life is it's like, okay, now let's paint the picture of what that's going to look like, week after week.
Mm-hmm. The consistency of it too.
Yeah.
Right. Like we know, as you mentioned earlier, January 1st, everyone's going to be really motivated. January 10th, that motivation drops significantly.
Yeah.
So it's like same thing with this individual that has that 10 push-up goal. It's like, yeah, I know you said you're going to do an additional, 3 sets of 5 reps every single day. And you might do that for the first week, but are you going to do it for the second week and the third week and the fourth week? So it's like, it's one thing that's super funny and interesting about fitness is it's not sexy. Like it's literally just doing the boring work day in and day out. There's no secret formula that you need to do.
Yeah. And I think the thing you said fitness, but it's really, I think everything.
For sure.
Yeah, everything I think in life is just like most things just take time.
Yep.
You just got to show up.
Yeah. And realistically, right, it's like we own a fitness business.
Mm-hmm.
People don't need us, right? They can do everything on their own,
right.
But people come to us because maybe they lack some of that motivation or the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, the most important thing that we do for our members is accountability.
Yeah.
Like we're on top of our game, we're expertise in this area, but like we're just the accountability of a building for people to come to be told what to do, to be given feedback and all that good stuff.
100%. Yeah. Just helping people show up.
Yeah.
You can have the best workouts, the most fun community, but when that motivation piece drops and something challenges you, it's like, oh man, what's going to pull you to the workout? Is it that coach reaching out? Is it knowing that Susie Sunshine is gonna be like in class and then be like text you after and like, I missed you today. Where were you at?
Yeah.
Like there's so many layers of accountability that exist here that help people pull in. And I think that's and that's the other thing with any goal. It's like, okay, well, I think declaring goals to others, sharing your goals with others.
Yeah.
People who are going to uplift you, right? Not people who are going to look at your goal and be like, nah, why would you bother that?
Yeah.
So it's like maybe you're sharing it with the people who are already doing that thing. People that are going to believe in you, they're going to push you, that are going to motivate you versus hold you back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the cool thing about sharing goals amongst the other members at Movement Strength.
Yes.
Is we are very like-minded.
That's right.
So I might tell a friend of mine that I want to qualify for Boston, and they're like, dude, you're never going to do that. Whereas when I tell people here, they're like, yeah, man, you can do it. Like, it's just a different,
100%.
so different.
You're like, wow, I can do it. It's like osmosis, right?
Yeah. You're like, I was just kind of joking, but I guess I got to now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're going to be releasing a health and fitness planner for 2025 within the next few weeks. But just for you, I'm just curious.
Right.
So I know you don't necessarily have your goal set for 2025, but just like, if you can sort of walk me through, what does that process look like when you set goals for yourself when it comes to like health and fitness in particular? Because I feel like you're very tactical with those bits, and I'm more like, yeah, man, we're going to do this. I need to lean on you more.
Yeah. Well, I'm transitioning. I was doing triathlon, and last year I transitioned to running. I have 5Ks. Got fired up about 5Ks. And and so I think if you asked me and I was like, okay, well, yeah, what goals am I going to do? And there'd be something around that, but it's more so the general framework.
You don't need to tell me your goal.
No, it's just,
more so just like, how do you come up with it?
It's just so kind of where I'm struggling with this is, I've recently, transitioned from just because I have other goals in my life. right? I found that was like taking like a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of time. And so I said, hey, I'm doing these other things, more personal, more business focused goals. And I really wanted to be able to direct my attention and my time towards those goals. And I'm saying this because I think it's important to note.
Yeah.
It's about priorities. It's like we can only accomplish so many things. We only have so much bandwidth. So I think part of this is, okay, when we're looking towards 2025, it's what am I, like in the areas of my life, what's the most important thing to me? What am I trying to drive forward? Identifying those things. And then when we talk about like the attainable or realistic component of a goals, it's like, hey, if I'm going to be pushing this thing, if I have this big business goal that I'm pushing, can I also push this really big fitness goal? Can I also do triathlon? And here's the thing. I think there's lots of people who do that. Dalton made a great post the other day.
I didn't see it.
It was a story, and it was just like, something about how he just knows that the excuse of like, I don't have enough time is a fallacy, right? It's just a matter of priorities. There are people who are way busier than you and I that are accomplishing way more. It's like, damn, how do they do it? So I don't want to sit here and say it's not possible, because it is. But I just do think, though, that we only have so much bandwidth. If you have kids, if you're doing all these different things in your life, it's just about getting clear in what you want to accomplish, and then creating a specific goal, a SMART goal, right? Something that is going to be specific. There's a label to it. So let's make this more clear. So if someone in 2025 was thinking, I really want to lose weight, and that was it. It's like, okay, but is that enough? I want to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to lose weight in 2025. I don't think that's clear enough, right? What does that even mean? But if someone was, man, when I was like 10 years ago, I was feeling good. Like clothes were fitting. I was really confident, and I had really great energy. I want to get back to that place. And that was like 30 pounds. So, I want to lose 30 pounds, and I want to do it by, like I want to be able to hit the beach in January, going to Mexico. I want to be able to hit the beach, July 1st. And I want to wear the bathing suit that I haven't been able to wear. And I'm going to be down 30 pounds by July 1st. I'm like, that's powerful, because number one, they're understanding their why, what's driving them, how they felt. Maybe they're thinking about things that they don't want to experience anymore. They've got a time frame. I think it's a realistic time frame for sure, right? It's like, hey, if we're talking about weight loss, like 1 to 2 pounds per week, that's a pretty good spot to be. So it's realistic. And I think there's also like this vision of like what it's going to be like. Like when I hit that goal, like what's life going to be like? I think you're thinking about that, right? When we're thinking about goals, like what's it going to feel like when I get there? When I'm going to be able to wear the bathing suit that I haven't been able to wear, or when I'm going to be able to like, show up to the rec soccer game, or play with my kids and not be, maybe held back by feelings of fatigue.
I want to touch on that for a really quick second, because I think it's a feeling that stays with you long term, to like really like clarify that when someone, like your example, you said, so this individual loses 20 to 25 to 30 pounds, whatever it is, and then that's going to help them have more energy. I think it's important to know more energy for the rest of their lives, not more energy in that moment. And the reason I think it's important to focus more on the feeling of that rather than the number on the scale is when you do hit the 30 pounds lost and you hop on the scale, you're not going to feel any different when you see that number. Like the number means nothing.
That's right.
But it's the feeling that comes along with the number. And the reason I bring that up is I think of like, so I wanted to run a sub 3 hour marathon. And I'm like, oh yes, when I do it, it's going to be amazing. And then as soon as I ran that sub 3 hour marathon, it was like, okay, what's next? Like there wasn't necessarily it was exciting and stuff like that, but like, it's not like I was significantly healthier and happier because of that. Whereas when we're talking about losing weight or whatever, to have more energy, to be able to play with your kids, to be able to play with your grandkids, like that is a lasting feeling. So I think it's important to think of like those lasting effects, because that's going to help keep you more motivated and driven towards reaching that goal.
That's right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think a lot of times, like, you brought up the weight loss in the very beginning, and it was like, hey, if not so much saying that it wasn't a valid goal, but digging a little bit deeper.
Mm-hmm.
But to your point there, and I think this was with most goals, like I think the reason why goal reviews are really helpful is because, okay, you've lost the 30 pounds. And not to say now what, like what's next, because it's like, well, I certainly want you to be happy and fulfilled and enjoy the journey that you've just gone through to get here. But the biggest thing, especially with like weight loss, any fitness goal, I guess, really is we don't want you to get there. We want to keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So with weight loss, it's don't want to lose 30 pounds, but then gain it back.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people look at, I've definitely had this conversation with people a lot, which is they get, let's say it's 30 pounds off. And, it's like a pretty intense journey. You're like, you got to really be dialed in. You're eating in a deficit. You're working hard. You get there and you're like, okay, now what? It's like maintain.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a goal.
Yeah.
Stay at the goal. Stay at the weight, right? Learn how to live at the weight. But then this is where goal reviews can be really helpful because it's like, okay, cool, maintain. So it's great. So with your body composition goal, maybe it's maintaining. That's a goal. Maintain your weight. But it's, okay, what else can we focus on now? And this is the key thing for people who have weight loss specific goals, which is when we focus on, okay, now I want to be able to run that 5K, or now I want to maybe do the 5K with my son, or I want to be able to do the trail run or the 10 push-ups. It's like, okay, cool. What can we focus on next? What can keep us active in this journey? Because again, the journey it's not just 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
You better know that if you want to lose weight, you're not just signing up for 9 months and then you're done. You don't go back to what got you to the weight, the gain, right?
Yeah.
That identity is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be. Because if you just went back to normal habits, you would go right back to the same spot. So it's along the journey, and I think this is why people who are accomplishing things smooth and sustainable, they develop habits, they build the identity so that you actually continue to move in the right direction. But if you think it's just going to be 9 months and then you're going back to what you were doing, sorry.
I think it if I look at especially the individuals I've worked with who have seen the result or reached their goal, you sort of mentioned priorities. That's the thing as well. I think is really important when someone starts any sort of health and fitness journey is like really reflect on your life and what are your current priorities. If you want help of where to look, go to your bank account and just see where you spend the most amount of money.
Yeah, that's good.
So it's like, okay, so if right now you're in medical school, you're super busy. You're spending a lot of money on school. That is your priority. Okay. So if we think about you wanting to take this health and fitness goal that you have, just know that chances are you're not going to be able to put 100% of your attention on that. And that's okay because you're not at the point in your life where that should be your focus. Yep. So it's giving yourself permission of like, all right, if I do want to see a result, I know this has to be in my top 3 priorities. And what does that mean for me? What does that mean I have to give up in my life? And I think it's like, I look at you and myself right now, like I don't necessarily have a hardcore fitness goal for the first time in a long time. So it's kind of easy in the sense that I just want to maintain my level of fitness. I know I'm going to lose some of my abilities and that's okay, being okay with that. But when I come up with my plan now, it's like, okay, I want to come to like 1 to 2 classes per week. I want to still join some of these community runs. Fitness might not be my number 1 priority now. Now it's more, my family, my business, then fitness. It's still in the top 3. But I think it's really important to like look at your life that way as well. Like, what are my priorities? Because if you have all these things and then fitness is number 6, like you're not going to succeed.
Right.
Like something has to give. And there'll be different times of your life where like things will shift around.
Yeah, chapters.
But like if fitness is your number 1 goal, then it really needs to be close to the top of your priority list.
100%. Yeah, you're putting it first. You're doing the things. That might mean you're coming at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. because you know you're going to get it done.
Yeah.
Like you are prioritizing it truly.
That's right. I don't know if we talk about that enough sometimes. Like,
yeah, No, I don't know. No.
Yeah. Like, and I know we're all about sustainability.
Yes.
Like you said, I don't care if you lose 20 pounds. Honestly, I don't. I'm happy for you, but I'm much more happier if you keep that 20 pounds off.
Yes.
But if you lose 20 pounds and you gain it in 6 months, like, we haven't really done anything for you.
No.
So it's like,
And it's defeating.
That's right. So we want it to be, sustainable.
Yep.
But at the same time, if it's a priority, there will be some sacrifices that you might need to make in your life.
Yep.
And when I say priority, I think of some of the clients that we've worked with who need to go in for surgery. And like, in order to get that surgery done, there were certain things that they need to hit. There was certain weight that they need to be. That is a priority.
Yeah.
So they're giving up things like, I'm probably not going to go to the bar with my friend every single Friday. Maybe I'll do it once a month. Because it's like, that's not the priority anymore.
That's right.
So
that's really good. I want to tie this into kind of like one of the missions, or really the core mission. You know, you pushed this out to the world and you said, hey, we want to, can you share it? Can you share it real quick?
Yeah. So we want to help.
I'll circle back. This will make sense in a second.
Like, where are we going with this? Yeah. So I feel like this is something that has been our goal for a long time, but we've been shy to make it public because it seems absurd.
Crazy.
Yeah, but we want to make a meaningful impact on 25,000 individuals' lives in London, Ontario. And the reason we came up with 25,000 is, there's been a lot of studies where one person can have an effect on 9 others. So if we help a mom lose 10 pounds, chances are the habits that she built along the way to lose 10 pounds, she's going to teach her husband. That's going to go down to her kids. Now her kids are only going to know a healthy lifestyle, and that's how we kind of help generations. But eventually, if we do 9 times 25,000, that's about, 450,000. So realistic at the end of the day, if we can change the lives of 25,000 people, that can affect 50% of the London population.
Very cool goal. And, that trickle works both ways. Right? So you can positively impact the 9 people closest to you. And you can also negatively impact the 9 people closest to you, whether that's with your habits, your energy, whatever it might be. And so I think sometimes people struggle with that because maybe there are people around them who don't necessarily see eye to eye with their goals. So if someone's like, okay, you know what? I want to change. I want to feel better. I want to lose the weight. I want to do X, whatever goal it might be. Maybe there's individuals around them that they're really close with that aren't necessarily moving in that direction. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's where something like this is where this goal is really cool, right? Because that individual has the power to change and benefit those people. But a lot of times it might be like, whether it's going out for drinks, it's going to the bar, it's whatever habits pulling them away from their goal. I sat down with someone the other day and it was such a smiling moment for me. I was thinking about you because she was like, when she started off, definitely eating out more, maybe having a couple more social bubblies, right? And had made amazing progress in the previous 4 weeks. I was like, wow, this is amazing. You're crushing it. What's like, and so as we started to chat about wins and struggles, one of the things that she mentioned was she was like, well, sometimes my friends will want to go for lattes or go out to eat. But now I find myself, recommending that we stay in to have dinner at one of our houses, or we maybe make our coffee. And I was like, did you read Isaac's email about the changing? And she was like, yeah, the 25,000 people, the 25,000 lives. Like, what you're saying is what he's talking about, because you're having this big positive impact. You're just making these small habit changes in your life, but now you're starting to help other people make change, right? And that's great for all kinds of reasons. But so I think it's just remembering that you like, no matter who you're surrounded with, like, you can still make change. I think one is, get a great group of people around you that are going to rally and push you forward. And then it's really about, I think, bringing people along with the journey, like on the journey with you, right? And some people aren't going to be ready to make that change, and that is what it is. They're not ready, but I still think that, people can impact their friends and families through making positive change in their health and fitness, which is very cool.
Oh, definitely. Even like when we think of ourselves, I don't know, I don't want to speak on behalf of yourself, but like I'm not a big jacked guy. Like I look fit, but
Yeah, you are.
you know what I mean though. So, but it's still, people know I have a certain lifestyle. And this was before I owned the gym. This is when I worked for Apple. People would come up to me all the time and I wouldn't talk about fitness at all.
Right.
And they'd be like, just like, yeah, you know, I'm trying to cut out sugar. Like I've never talked about fitness or nutrition to this person. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. They're like, yeah, you know, I think I just need to start being a little bit healthier. And then they'd leave. And then another person would come and be like, oh yeah, I just got a Good Life membership. I'm like, oh, cool. And it's like,
This is at Apple?
this is at Apple.
That's amazing.
And even though I once again, I never talked about fitness very often. I didn't even like on my personal socials at the time, it wasn't all about fitness. But it's almost like just this like energy that you exude. Like they see what I'm eating. They see what I'm packing. They see that I have my gym bag and I'm most likely going to the gym after. So it's like, even though we don't think we're having that style of impact on the individuals around us because we're not saying anything, you kind of still are by saying nothing, because people pick up on those little things that you're doing consistently.
And it's probably the best way to make change.
Definitely.
I think if you went to your best friend who wasn't active,
Yeah, oh, for sure.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that's actually good. Like, we're not telling you to be.
Yeah. I think
obnoxious.
actually just like leading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, you don't have to be that person who's like just gym this, gym that,
Yeah.
and health this and health that. And he wants some chicken and rice. But it's no, it's just like leading,
Yeah.
right? It's just showing up consistently for yourself, and people pick up on that and want a dose of that, right? Just like, you know, if I hang around someone who's probably always drinking, I'm probably more likely to start drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm hanging around someone who's, you know, heading to the gym, who's being mindful of their nutrition, who's going out for walks, it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, I think there's something there. Like, this person seems like they're rounded. They're dealing with their stress. They're looking good. Like, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
Just like leading by example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool. I have some final thoughts.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you feel like you wanted to touch on that we didn't?
I think we touched on goal setting and more.
Yeah.
Everything else that we need.
Yeah. I think, you know, just for people right now that are looking at, you know, having more of that plan or setting that goal for 2025 when it comes to health and fitness, the biggest thing is to look at your macro goal, so like your big goal, and then sort of like your little micro goals as well, like what's going to help you attain that big, hairy, audacious goal at the end of the day. And I think it's really important to look, you know, far wide, because you don't want to necessarily just focus on, I want to lose 80 pounds,
Yep.
or I want to be able to squat 200 pounds, and right now you can only squat 50 pounds. It's like, sure, you have this big goal, but make sure that you're planning, you know, little micro goals along the way that are going to help you achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal. So when we think of our members anyways, like, we do goal reviews with all of our members. They have the option of doing it with us every single 90 days. And the reason we do 90 days is just that. Like, we know a lot of people have a big goal, but we want to make sure that they're focusing on those little goals, those 12-week, 90-day goals along the way to get them there. So have a plan in place is the most important thing. And, you know, if you guys need help creating this plan, like, that's what we're here. Like, shoot me a DM, shoot Lucas a DM, email the gym. Like, all of us are legit here to just help you reach your goals.
Yeah. And just to infuse some thoughts tactically, like, my mind's going, now that you've said that, I want to lose 50 pounds in a year. Big, hairy, audacious goal. Great goal. I love it. Okay. In the first 30 days, I want to lose 5 pounds, right? Reverse engineer it. Like, give yourself those little micro goals, like you're saying. And it could be around weight loss. So it's like, okay, by day 90, I want to be down 12 pounds. That will put me on point, right? Or maybe there's a little bit more weight loss on the front. I want to be down 15 pounds by day 90. So you can check in with yourself and you can make sure you're moving in that right direction. But then it could be, okay, well, you want to lose 50 goals. What is it going to take for you? Or you want to lose 50 pounds. What's it going to take for you to lose 50 pounds? It's like, you can say you want to lose the weight, but it's like, what do you got to do? It's like, oh, okay, I'm going to walk every other day for 20 minutes for the first 4 weeks. Check it off. Boom. Okay, now I'm going to walk for 30 minutes every other day for the next 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. We're stacking bricks. Okay, now I'm going to walk for 30 minutes every day for the next 4 weeks. Right? Like, having little stepping stones. I'm going to go to the gym 2 times per week in the first 4, then 3 times per week in the next 4. like giving yourself small stepping stones that you can really use to slingshot yourself to that bigger goal.
Yeah.
You can reverse engineer anything like that, but it's just understanding, okay, this is the big goal, but how am I actually going to get there? What are the things that I'm going to do that are going to get me there? And write those out.
And that's what you do in these goal reviews, right?
Out.
Like you do this with our members.
Yeah.
So, last thing. So this is at the end of the podcast. I'm actually going to cut this and make this. Well, it'll still be a part of this bigger podcast, but I'm going to do a separate episode of this as well, because just in case people don't watch or listen to the whole thing.
Side quest. Yeah.
So something that we're doing now, right? So for the month of December, is if you are an individual that is just looking to sort of set some realistic goals, we want to help you with that. So it doesn't matter if you're a member or not a member. I'll have a little link below that you can set up a phone call to chat with Luke for 15 to 20 minutes, where he'll take you through a goal setting meeting. So helping you actually set some realistic health and fitness goals. Full transparency, he will give you options of like how we at Movement Strength can help you achieve those goals. So he'll talk to you about our membership stuff and maybe personal training. But you don't have to become a member. That's not the whole purpose of this. The purpose of this is legit. If we're going to try to help 25,000 people, like there's different tactics that we need to do, and this is one of them. We want to help you guys try to set these goals, and we'll even set up follow-up meetings with you as well to see how you're doing achieving them. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on that, but
no, that's pretty clear. I mean, we've really defined the framework for the goals earlier in this other podcast or in the podcast. I think the other takeaway would be, we have so many amazing free resources.
Yeah,
like so many. Isaac's built so many incredible PDFs. So if we identify that your goal links up with one of these things, and moving forward with Movement Strength is not in the realm of possibility, it's for whatever reason is not a fit, which is totally fine, by the way. We can't be a good fit for everybody.
No.
Then I will do my absolute best to get you the best resource, the best referral, to make sure that you do move in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what's so cool about this. Like, just now that we've, officially said, hey, the goal is to help 25,000 individuals in London, it just makes a lot of other things fall into place. Like, we know we can't have 25,000 members here.
No.
We don't want 25,000
Definitely
members.
not.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well, what are some other ways that we can help the community? And I think this is one of those, doing these free goal setting phone calls, talking about doing a lot of free seminars for individuals. We have London Rud Club, that's a part of Movement Strength now. Like, that's a free way for people to come out and get fitness. So we're really starting to think of different ways that we can help our community. If you've made it this far, or if you're listening to this is like the separate podcast, and you have any recommendations of things that we can do, by all means, we're all ears. We're looking for that feedback.
Love it.
Cool.
That's great.
Okay, thanks for taking the time.
Always a pleasure.
Bye.